Senior Placement, and I understand she's very, very busy right now. I'm sure she can elaborate. Since 2001, Daphne has been dedicated to seniors and their families, and that's a long run. Thank you, Daphne. That's quite the vision for you. Her and her team strongly believe that doing the right thing for the right reason every time. Great motto. She's an active member of, sorry, I'm going to have to read this, ASRPWA, which stands for the Association of Senior Referral Professionals of Washington. So without further ado, we're going to listen to all her good information. Thanks, Daphne.
Thank you so much, and I am so glad that I get to be here today and introduce to all of you. I'll explain my background a little bit. Typically, I wouldn't be on my boat today doing this speech, but I've got some friends that are coming in from Chicago unexpectedly, and this was the day that we could make everything work this afternoon, and I could still keep my commitment with you. So hence, I'm on the boat and looking forward to getting out into Commencement Bay. We're out of Tacoma, so that's why you're getting this background today. So thanks for letting me be flexible in this COVID time. I am looking forward to getting to know all of you. I don't think there's anyone here that I really know well. I've been introduced to a few people already, but Pinnacle Senior Placements is a company that we go above and beyond what a placement company typically does. There's a few online companies that you may be aware of. We are very, very hands-on. Here during our COVID time, all of my business has been done on Zoom with all of our people in our office. We have 6 people, and we really strive hard to know what people's stories are and to help them find the best care, either in their home, out of their home, in different facilities, but something that they don't have to move again. And so one of the things that might tell a little bit about me is that we pay attention to a lot of detail in terms of how to help people not move a second time. And so in 20 years, I've had 12 people that have moved from their original placement. And I'm very proud of that because that is about getting to know people. And all of you understand how important that is. Today, our topic is about isolation and how that affects people with dementia. And I will tell you, my credentials are School of Hard Knocks. I am not a doctor, I'm not a nurse. I have no initials behind my name except for CSA, a Certified Senior Advisor, and maybe a few corporate titles, but nothing beyond that. And so my observation is really being in the front lines and educating myself as a lifelong learner. And one of the things that I want to talk about today in particular is how the biology of our disease processes are affected by isolation, and particularly focusing on cognition challenges that we have. Now that we're getting close to families being able to hopefully be 6 feet away from seeing their loved ones that have been away from them, or through a plexiglass or on a phone or through a window, we may run into some questions from our families that go, oh my goodness, what happened to mom or dad? Because there probably has been an increase in some confusion, maybe a decrease in people's abilities to process information and to sequentially think through things. There might be a decrease that some family members will see in terms of their willingness or desire to participate in whether it's an ADL or a social activity, but they may not be wanting to do that, and in some situations able to do some of the tasks of an ADL. When that happens, sometimes families can feel a lot of guilt. And during this time of COVID, I'm hoping that we can help our families get through this reintroduction to who their family members are and not go through the journey of guilt. Because as you all know, there's nothing that we can do to stop the process of cognition challenges or dementia progression. There are things that we can help people survive, not survive, but live so that they have a fulfilling life. But that process is going to march on no matter what we do. Sometimes there's the idea that if you don't use it, you lose it. And I think in early stages, this is my personal opinion here, in early stages of dementia, that may be true. But more accurately is the more that we support someone, the more independence they can have for a longer period of time. It's kind of an oxymoron, but I want to explain myself there. When we have the biology in our systems going, and we have cortisol and adrenaline running through our bodies because we're in fight or flight mode, which most people with dementia at some point in the course of every day will feel that thing, that fight or flight. They'll feel anxious about something. And it can be something as simple as, where did I put my glasses? Oh no, what's happening? My brain is leaving me. I can't remember where my glasses are. And you know, that may not be dementia. It could be just having a brain freeze. I have them regularly. But sometimes it's real. Sometimes it is a sign of something going on, or processing information. I want to get a drink of water, but where are the cups? Do I go to the refrigerator? Do I go to the sink? Do I like ice? Don't I like ice? All of those things are going on in someone's mind, and they're using up energy. And so that's where I go back to the idea of the supporting people so that they can be more independent. When families see their loved ones coming up and they go to that place of guilt, I hope that you'll be able to express to them that some of this is just the situation that we're in, and there's nothing that you could have done to change this because of COVID. I encourage you all to be bold and just put people's minds at ease. We are in unprecedented time, and the isolation that's happening causes us to stay in our own loop. I know I have felt that many times, where I just like, I got to get out of here. Mary was referencing that in terms of let's go. When we're in our own thoughts, sometimes we can get into the woe is me. Sometimes we can think, oh, I've got the worst situation in the world. And imagine how an elder might feel if they've been isolated in their own home, or isolated in a community of living, and they're having these feelings of that fight or flight, and that cortisol and adrenaline is running all the time. I think that as we help our families, we can give them more support now. As families can get more involved, they can support their loved ones more. I'm kind of jumping around a little bit because I've got a lot of thoughts on my mind right now, but the bottom line is that as we move forward through this COVID time, I hope that we can have a keener, more intentional eye to watching where people are at, to not dismiss signs that we may be getting, to not dismiss someone not looking at you, perhaps, not having good eye contact, someone no longer participating in activities if you're in a community, or you have to do a little more prodding if there's the hallway bingo or something, and they're just like, no, I don't want to do that. To watch for those things, to see if there's a little higher level of confusion. Are they getting enough nutrition? Liquid alone, especially with all this heat, can really be a factor in terms of where someone is at in their cognition and their confusion. Don't dismiss any of those little signs that we can be given. Someone might be doing behaviors that are more acute. They might be hoarding things. You might be seeing people being a little bit, and I'm going to use this word loosely, but a little more paranoid. They might be hoarding things or hiding things or putting things in a safe spot, but all of a sudden someone stole it. Don't dismiss that. Find out more about what's going on behind that. Maybe let a nurse in your community know about, different behaviors going on with Joe. Anna doesn't want to get together with her friends anymore. Can we kind of delve into that a little bit and figure out what's going on with her? Because it is probably a biological thing that's going on. That fight or flight is so strong. Are there any questions at this point or thoughts? I'm open to comments. Feel free to unmute yourself if you've got an aha moment or something that you could share that's for the good of the all.
Is there anything, Daphne, that you've encouraged families or caregivers in facilities to do to promote more connection and communication?
So, good question. And it was Julie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good question, because there are a lot of little things that we can do that really can add to the greater good of the community. One of the things that I'm really talking about a lot with families and different communities is when you think of someone, let them know about that. So let's say that someone's in a community and, you know, Hilda has got friends that she thinks about and she's talking about them when she's got her caregiver coming in. I would encourage that caregiver to say, hey, can we write your friend a note and drop it in the mail? Can we take, or you know what, how about if I get our Zoom program, you know, because most communities have something, and we could actually maybe reach out to your friend. We could talk to somebody and you could see each other. Or maybe it's something as simple as just picking up the phone and helping them dial that phone. But being intentional about letting others who pop in your head know that they popped in your head. That's one thing. The other thing is that sometimes people really thrive on feeling needed. And so as you are caring for other people and getting to know who they are, figure out what are their buttons that give them a sense of purpose. And focus on that conversation, ask open-ended questions to learn about that, and then figure out, is there some way that we can satisfy that need to feel purposeful? The idea is to get out of our own thoughts. The idea is to quit turning inward, but to go outward. If we go outward, that ripple effect can be amazing. So those are some suggestions that I've been giving. The other thing is to be not afraid of using technology. And I have seen miraculous things happen. I mean, all of you have seen them. We're all here virtually in different parts of Washington right now doing different things. And I have discovered that 80-year-olds can do this. They just need to be encouraged. And so not to be afraid of having that happen, to reach out to families. Families, I've really encouraged to get iPads or a Kindle or a laptop or something that's sitting in their house and nobody else is using it. Get it to their family member and walk them through. Make it fun, not frustrating. They've never turned on a laptop. Who cares? Here's the button, Mom, push it. I'll walk you through this. I am not a tech person at all. I have staff to be able to keep me in order. But I actually am teaching people how to use Zoom. People who know me are like, that is ridiculous. Like, Daphne, no, she would never do that. So everyone, it's a time that we have to step out and figure out how we can communicate with people, how we can stay connected. The other thing I want to bring up at this time, thanks to you, is keeping a consistent connection. If your family members are saying, I just can't get to my mom or dad, if there's anything that you can do in terms of to the families, is say, pick out one day that without fail, you reach out to your family member and they can have that on their calendar. They can take it to the bank. Even if something comes in front of that, make a quick phone call, call the front desk and say, let my mom know that I'm going to call her 10 minutes late because it's important, but have something consistent, something that they can look forward to. It's another time of us getting out of our own loop and having something to anticipate. That's part of what's going on right now, is that we don't know when things are going to, quote, get back to normal. We don't know when our phases are going to change. We don't know when we're going to be able to see someone again face to face and actually get a hug. And that unknown for someone with dementia causes a great amount of stress. They may not be able to articulate it and tell us that, but underlying, that is what's going on. It's our job, as I feel, with people with dementia, it's our job to get into their world and not expect them to be in our world. And so that takes us a little bit extra energy to be detectives and find out what's going on with these people. What is underneath the behavior? as most of us probably know, a behavior is just an unmet need. So if someone is acting out in some way, is going on a food strike, deciding they don't want to eat anymore, you get the plate back and it's got 25% eaten, and it used to be at least 75 on a regular basis. We need to figure out what's going on there. A behavior is a symptom of an unmet need. And so it's our job as caregivers to try really hard to figure out how can we meet that need, or figure out what it is. Those are the places that families can feel important also. They might not be able to physically see their loved one or take them to Dairy Queen, and that used to be what they were, used to doing, but they are an immense resource for information, historic information, or for people to say, what are the things that give your parent joy? What are the things that, when you were with your aunt, what were the things that you talked about? And those kind of things will help us as caregivers and people of service to be able to know how to get past just the words and find out the real core of what's going on with people. Thanks for the question. Any other comments, thoughts?
Hi, it's Mary. So one of the things one of the things that you were talking about was their plate. It used to be 75% eaten, and now it's 25% eaten. And as Beth Pratt said for Parkview Villas, they're now introducing slowly back at the community where residents can dine at the same time in the dining room, socially distanced, and they're doing it in stages. So if they're eating in their room up until this point by themselves, that could be a reason for their appetite diminishing, and a physical sign that you could see. So one of the things that we were talking about was the regularity of something. So my dad lives in North Carolina, and he's getting bored out of his mind. So I spoke with my husband and I said, you know what, honey, we're going to need to make a regular date with Dad at dinner time. And we can call him when it's dinner time, and he can be in his place in North Carolina eating dinner at his table. We'll be eating dinner at our table, and we can converse as if we were sitting at the same table together. And it gives Dad something to look forward to if we're always going to have dinner together, let's say on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And the same thing can take place with a senior that's in a senior community. That would give them something to look forward to, and it would probably help bring back their appetite. So that regularity that you were talking about just can mean a world of difference.
Mary, that is stellar, absolutely stellar, because in our culture, food is a social event. And when you're just sitting with your own plate of food and it's day in and day out, 3 times a day, it's boring. I love that idea. That is probably one of my, I'm going to in fact share that one because I like that a lot, because it is a social event.
Thank you. And if anybody would like any more of those great ideas, I'll put the link on the chat bar, because I got an amazing article from Denise Atkins of Home Instead in Bremerton that gave 7 tips on how to engage your seniors. And so that article is on the Compass and Clock website. But in addition to that, I wish Kathleen and her husband, the new owners of the Home Instead, were online with us right now. I think we lost them, but they have what's called a Grand Pad. And I'm pretty sure Charlotte might know if they rolled it out at their location yet or not, but it's a great way to communicate.
That sounds terrific. Any other ideas, thoughts, questions, situations?
This is Charlotte, Daphne. I just kind of wondered what you did before Pinnacle. I mean, is your background in social work, or how did it get you involved in this?
No, my story, I'm a small business owner, opened my first business when I was 25, and I was political science major in college, had no connection, and I adopted 2 sons, and my best friend said, hey, Daphne, this business called Adult Family Homes is wanting to grow from 3 homes to 8 homes, and would you be interested in helping them? And I said, don't even know what an adult family home is. And so that was my introduction to adult family homes and our world of senior care, and I fell in love. it was just the place for me to be, that I really enjoy our seniors. I am passionate about continuing quality of life. No matter what chapter of life we're in, we all deserve to have a quality life. And so I happen to now help people in their last chapters of life and help them figure out how to have a quality environment, as well as a fulfilling and purposeful life. And it just is different. So I've been a student of life, and now a student of how do I help our elders and how do I help all of us. I believe that the cream of the crop of people are going to rise to the top. We all know that we can have a kind of sketchy industry. And I am just passionate about continuing to make sure that our elders are well cared for and that services have gotten to them. Thanks for the question.
Daphne, I was wondering if you have received much pushback from families and elders with the need for them to maybe move into a facility over the last several months, and what that's been like versus maybe having somebody come into their home.
Yeah. I have had, first of all, let me say, since March, I am the busiest I have been in 20 years, because people are in crisis and people are really lost of how do I make these decisions. So just when I was getting onto this call, a family that I've been working with, the husband and wife, we were talking about that. Eric was, Daphne, some days I want you to help us right now, and then the very next day, no. And what is the best thing for us to do? And how do we keep ourselves safe? So I wouldn't say that it's pushback per se. Julie, I would say that it's more caution and more curiosity and wanting to have the less things that we have, for sure, the more people want information. Because we have very little, that's for sure right now, in terms of our senior care and how that looks and what we're going to do. The pattern that happens is that I meet with families and I find out their story, and there are some situations that they definitely should stay in their home and try and figure out how to get in-home care. So that's a part of what we do. There's so much that goes into these next chapters of life, from finances to hobbies to pets to personality types, location. How's the family going to interact with a community of care? I mean, it's a complex decision. And so we just help people walk through discovering what their highest values are. And I think we, as people who support our seniors and their families, that's probably a key piece, is having them self-discover, what are your highest values? Is the highest value for your mom to keep her cat? Then that's what we need to pay attention to. Is the highest value to be able to honor your mom's desire to leave an inheritance? Then that's what we have to pay attention to. Highest value is for dad to be able to putter in his garage. Let's figure out how to either duplicate that or make it continue. So it's not, I can't say that there's an overall break on moving. That hasn't happened, because life continues, especially as people have been able to go back to work. Sons and daughters and nieces and nephews aren't available to support their loved ones as much. And so things are changing again. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I know that everything is changing by the week right now still, and yeah, I was just curious, kind of maybe even what people's kind of priorities, or like what their overall maybe like average preference would be. But I think you described that really well, of identifying an individual's biggest priority and facilitating that.
Yeah, I would say, just to answer that question about what do I see overall, what's the trend, so to speak. People are definitely wanting to keep people safe still, but I am hearing and feeling a lot more people saying something has to give. My parents cannot stay alone anymore. I can't go without seeing my mom and dad much longer. At 6 months point, we're at the break point. 6 weeks was one thing, you know, a couple more weeks, another month added, but now I think people are getting a little frustrated, and I don't know what the answer is. How do we keep everybody safe and be able to move forward? And that's where my personal frustration comes in, because I'm a solution girl, and I don't have one. So we have to just continue to be creative. But that's what I'm hearing is families are very frustrated with how do we get through this.
Daphne, it's Mary.
Mhm.
When we do these brown bag lunches, we do them 11:30 to 12:30. So we have about 7 minutes with you still. Can you please make sure you address the conversation about the guilt that the families are feeling and how those on the call can help alleviate that through conversations with it being biological, and that if they're in a community and they're feeling isolated, how the loved ones might not be going there to visit, let alone help with some of the ADLs, which are being taken care of by the caregivers there. But, you know, how these people can have the conversations with the families, how you've been encouraging that.
So a lot of that is just having to be very pragmatic. Sometimes it's saying the words of, I hear your heart. I know the same feelings. I've had them myself. To validate people's feelings, and guilt is coming up a lot, but also to give them hard information about quality of time. It's not quantity, it's quality. And I'm going to keep it in reference to people with cognition issues. It's really about the quality of time and the consistency. And if someone's really hiccuping on that guilt, to be able to help them figure out how can we proactively get through that. Because I do think those conversations are going to happen as people are exposed to their loved ones on a more intimate level, at least as we go through these phases and whatnot. And so it is a really strong piece to go back to that fight or flight, and also another, the fight or flight, cortisol, adrenaline, that will wane, it'll come and go. Get in their space. Don't expect people to be in your world if you're the daughter. Some of the other things that can help in terms of empowering the family members is to help them know how to language, you know, to not use a phrase of remember when, or sometimes to help them save face in any way that you can. Many times I put myself in the third person position, and I'll say something like, Daphne, you've been thinking about doing this for a long time. Now I'm just going to do it. And so I thought of giving you a call, Mary. But I used my name so that Mary doesn't have to remember who I am. You know, just little things to help family members feel more empowered and more informed, so that they don't get stuck in their own loop too. And the loop that happens a lot is guilt. They have no control over what's happening right now. Zero.
Are there any like written resources that you might offer to a client just for their own education, kind of about what you're describing?
I do have some resources. I don't have them readily off the top of my head right now, but I do have some that we have for our team of people that we turn people to. And I can certainly get that to Mary so that we can share that with everybody. I'm a big subscriber to the Alzheimer's website, and I get lost in there all the time. I mean, it's constant. You could go to my website, Pinnacle Senior Placements, and there's so many podcasts there that I do with an organization called Answers for Elders. And they have a website also with a plethora of information on different aspects of care. So that's, again, answersforelders.com. And every topic you can think of, there's going to be information of available for you there. So those are a couple off the top of my head. But yeah, I have some that I'll get to Mary. Any other thoughts? Or I have one other area that I'd like to just kind of touch on, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it for a number of reasons. But I want to encourage everyone, our goal when caring for people with cognition challenges, with dementia and any form of dementia, is to not have them medicated too heavily or as little as possible. And I'm a big subscriber to that. But there also are times when the biology of someone's brain chemistry needs support. And in the 20 years that I've been doing this job, we have a lot more information about how the brain is working. We have not that many answers on how to universally help people. It's still a mystery because everybody's body is different. But I want to encourage you all to not be afraid of having some kind of chemical support to help someone's brain. It is not a situation where it's a muscle with dementia that just needs to be exercised more. It is actually a deterioration of the brain. And so sometimes those brain hormones need a little extra help to be working. Something as simple as depression and anxiety can be very, very debilitating. And if we can help kind of just bring people to ground zero, if you think of -10 to +10, and our goal is to have people at zero in terms of working with brain hormones and medications and whatnot, at least give them a fighting chance to be at zero, to not have their body working against them, not to be afraid of using some medications or to explore the possibilities. Our goal, as I said, is always to keep as few medications as possible for our elders, but sometimes people just cannot live in their own skin. And I think it's a responsible thing to explore that avenue. It's kind of the idea of having environmental influences on someone and then also having the chemical influences on someone. And they do have to work together. And there are situations, and I work very, very closely on a daily basis with the Auburn emotional and memory wellness floors at the MOPLTCA Hospital in Auburn. And it's miraculous when we have a chemistry get adjusted correctly, that an environment can actually be effective to allow for a quality of life in the next chapters of someone's life. And I really, really encourage you not to be afraid of that, at least for the exploration. Anything else?
I was going to say, does anybody else have any more questions? Vanessa has to jump off, but she said, thank you very much, Daphne. Great information, much appreciated. I'm the primary caregiver for my mom who has dementia. I appreciate all that you're sharing, etc. So any questions for Daphne, anybody? She's got about 1 more minute and then we'll do the sign off with everybody. Any last minute announcements?
I want to thank you for your attention and for the privilege of being able to be introduced to your organization. I do want to let you know that we are active in both Clallam and Jefferson County. Trish Cooper is my colleague that works with me in Kitsap, Peninsula, and then up north, and she's actually working with a client right now who's coming out of Auburn Hospital and going back to SQUIM. And so we're helping her figure out what is the best options for their family and for this particular client of ours that's coming out of the hospital. So we're there to support your families that you come in contact with. We are an information post. We are not decision makers, and our services are completely free.
Thank you, Daphne. I always learn something new every time you speak with me. I appreciate the fact that you dedicated some time for all of us today to help educate us on how to, really look for the signs of our elders that are suffering from dementia as it pertains to isolation and loneliness, and looking for those triggers and helping them not be in survival mode, but be in living mode is what you've taught me.
Correct. Absolutely.
I don't have any other announcements. Charlotte, do you have anything? Okay, well then everybody, go have a wonderful day. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. And if you ever need any information, reach out to Charlotte or I, and we will be happy to get that to you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.